In the village of Nkwazi, nestled deep in the heart of Africa, lived a mother named Amara. She was a woman of grace, strength, and wisdom. Her skin glowed with the rich hue of the earth, her eyes reflecting the sky's vastness, and her heart was bound to the land she called home. She lived in a small mud hut at the edge of the village, a place where the scent of the river mingled with the fragrance of wildflowers. Amara had a son named Kwame. He was her only child, and from the moment he was born, she showered him with all the love a mother could give. Kwame was a beautiful child. His eyes, dark as night, sparkled with mischief. His laughter was like the soft tinkling of a bell, and his smile could melt the hardest of hearts. But as he grew older, something began to change. At first, it was subtle. He started avoiding the other children, preferring to play alone in the woods. Amara thought it was just a phase. Boys, after all, could be solitary at times. But then, the animals started to fear him. The birds no longer perched on his shoulders, and the dogs would bark furiously when he passed. Amara noticed it, but she did not understand it. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, casting a golden hue over the land, Amara called Kwame inside. He had been out in the forest as usual, and she had noticed him speaking to someone in hushed tones. A chill ran down her spine, but she dismissed it, chalking it up to her imagination. "Kwame," she called gently as he entered the hut. "Why do you spend so much time alone? The other children miss you." Kwame looked at her, his eyes cold, as though he had not heard her. "I do not need them," he replied, his voice low and hollow. Amara felt a pang in her heart. She had always been close to him, but now, there was a distance between them, a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. "But you are my son, and I love you. You must learn to love others, too." Kwame stood silent, his eyes piercing her with an intensity that made her shiver. He slowly walked past her, his footsteps eerily silent on the wooden floor. As weeks passed, Amara began to hear whispers from the villagers. They spoke of strange things happening near her home, cattle going missing, crops withering in the fields, and the once vibrant river drying up at its banks. Some villagers even swore they had seen Kwame standing alone in the moonlight, chanting in an unfamiliar language. One evening, Amara gathered the courage to confront her son. She found him near the riverbank, staring into the water with an unblinking gaze. The moonlight illuminated his face, making him appear almost otherworldly. "Kwame," Amara said, her voice trembling. "What is happening to you? Why do you stay away from everyone? Why do you hurt the animals and the land?" Kwame turned to her, his lips curling into a sinister smile. "Mother, you do not understand. I have been chosen." Amara's heart raced. Chosen for what? Kwame stepped closer, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "I am not like them, Mother. I am not like you. I was born for a purpose greater than this village, greater than the land, greater than the gods you worship." Amara recoiled, a sense of terror creeping into her bones. She had heard stories, old stories passed down through generations, about children who were born with darkness in their hearts, children who were vessels for evil forces, children who could not be saved. "Kwame, my son, please," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "You are not evil. You are my child, and I love you. I raised you with love. You can choose a different path." But Kwame laughed, a cruel, mocking sound that sent chills through Amara. "It is too late for that. I have embraced the darkness, and soon it will consume everything." Amara fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face.
"No, Kwame."
"No, please," she cried out. "You are my son. You are good. I know you are." But her words seemed to bounce off him, as if they were nothing more than empty air. Kwame turned away from her, his form fading into the shadows. Amara knew she had lost him, but still, she did not give up. She sought the help of the village elders, wise men and women who had long studied the old ways. Together, they performed rituals and sacrifices, calling upon the spirits of their ancestors to intervene. But no matter what they did, nothing seemed to stop Kwame. The darkness that had taken root in him only grew stronger, spreading like a sickness across the land. The crops died, the rivers ran dry, and the once thriving village began to wither. Amara's heart ached as she watched her people suffer. But through it all, she never stopped loving her son. One night, as the moon hung full in the sky, Amara stood at the edge of the forest, looking into the darkness. She knew that her son was out there, somewhere, consumed by the evil that had taken hold of him. But she refused to let go. She had to try one last time. She walked into the forest, her heart pounding, calling his name. Kwame, Kwame, my son, I beg of you, come back to me. And then, from the shadows, he appeared. His face was gaunt, his eyes empty, and his skin pale. But there was still something in him that Amara recognized, something faint, something buried deep within. Kwame, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I know you are still there. You can fight this. You can still choose the light. For a moment, the darkness in Kwame's eyes flickered, and Amara thought she saw a glimmer of the child she had once known. But then, the coldness returned, and he took a step back. It is too late, mother, he said, his voice hollow. The darkness is a part of me now. There is no turning back. Amara's heart shattered, but she did not give up. She reached out to him, her arms wide, ready to embrace the son she had lost. I will never stop loving you, she whispered, even if you cannot love yourself. Kwame hesitated for a moment, his body trembling. And then, as if some invisible force had taken control of him, he turned away and vanished into the forest, leaving Amara alone in the darkness. She fell to her knees, weeping for the child she had lost. But even in her grief, she knew that she would never stop loving him, that she would never give up hope. Because, in the end, a mother's love is stronger than any darkness that could consume her child.